Have you ever witnessed an act of injustice so brutal, so heartless, that it left you burning inside? A moment so cruel, you found yourself looking up and silently screaming, "Seriously? Is no one going to pay for this? Does evil just get away with it?" That restless hunger for justice is one of the deepest forces in human nature, and humanity has been obsessed with this question for thousands of years. Today, I'm not here to hand you easy answers or repeat old dogmas. Instead, we're going to dive headfirst into the most disturbing, mind-bending, and revolutionary ideas ever created to explain this ancient mystery. We'll explore hell, not as some scary bedtime story, but as a powerful symbol designed to keep chaos in check. We'll look at purgatory as humanity's last hope for redemption, a final shot at cleansing the soul before reaching the light. And we'll break down karma, not as mystical revenge, but as the universal law of cause and effect that not even the most powerful can escape. Stay with me on this journey, because by the end, you'll realize these ideas aren't just about a punishing God, they're about something far more unsettling, a mirror showing us that the consequences of our actions will always, sooner or later, find us. And once you truly get this, it could transform how you live, how you choose, and even how you forgive. So if you're not satisfied with surface-level answers and you want to shake up your own thinking, this is the moment to hit subscribe and ring the bell. Only then can you join us as we dig deeper into these questions, challenge old beliefs, and search for the real truth behind the myths. Ready to question everything? Then let's begin. Hell. Eternal damnation. We step through the gates of the abyss and enter the place that has haunted humanity's nightmares for centuries. Hell. The word itself comes from the Latin infernum, meaning the lower, the underworld. But hell has always been much more than just a destination for the wicked. It's the ultimate symbol of fear and relentless justice. In the most popular vision, hell is a realm, or state, where the souls of sinners are tortured forever. But every culture tells this story differently. The Hebrew Sheol was a shadowy realm of forgetfulness, not endless punishment. The Greek Hades, the fiery Tartarus, the late Jewish Gehenna, the Norse Helheim, India's Naraka, or the Islamic Jahannam, all these names echo a universal fear, that there's a final reckoning for those who disrupt the cosmic order. The Catholic vision. The Catholic Church teaches that hell is real and eternal. But in modern times, thanks to thinkers like John Paul II and Pope Francis, it's seen less as a physical place and more as a state of ultimate self-exclusion from God. In other words, hell isn't a punishment forced on you from outside. It's the end result of choosing isolation, rejecting love, and building your own emptiness, one decision at a time. Traditionally, those who die in mortal sin descend immediately to eternal fire. Even though the Church now frames hell more as a state than a location, for centuries it was described as a vast underground cavern full of screams, fire, stench, and mocking demons. Dante's Inferno famously organized hell with terrifying logic. Every sin gets its own ironic, endless punishment. Biblical foundations for hell's punishment. Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire. Matthew 25 verse 41. A blazing furnace. Matthew 13 verse 42. A lake of fire and sulfur. Revelation 20 verse 10. The worm that never dies and the fire that is never quenched. Mark 9:47-48. Types of punishments in hell. Catholic tradition. Pain of loss. Beyond any physical agony, this is considered the worst torment, the total loss of God's presence. Imagine a being created for light and love, suddenly abandoned in endless darkness. This separation from all meaning and beauty is the real hell, a total void, an exile with no return. For mystics and theologians, this pain, the impossibility of ever feeling love or hope again, is feared more than any physical torture. Pain of sense. This covers every horror imagined over centuries. Burning fire that never consumes, freezing cold, endless hunger and thirst, choking air, piercing screams, humiliation by mocking demons, each torment tailored to the soul's sins. There's no comfort, only pain upon pain, multiplied and repeated without end. But here's the real twist. Every punishment is ironically specific, designed to match the crime. The suffering is infinite, relentless, and perfectly suited to each lost soul, over and over, forever. That's what makes hell, for many, the purest form of despair, an endless cycle of consequences with no hope of escape. All of this served a clear purpose. Hell was the ultimate tool to control behavior and keep chaos at bay. But is this the only vision of hell? Other visions of hell. Eternal punishment isn't a universal idea. Every tradition puts its own spin on the underworld. Protestantism, hell is less about fire and more about absolute separation from God, total spiritual loneliness. No purgatory here, just a final, unchangeable verdict. Jehovah's Witnesses, their Sheol isn't a place of pain, just a collective tomb, unconscious, with no suffering. Gehenna is annihilation, not torture, complete and final non-existence. Ancient Judaism, Sheol was a gray underworld, with earthly punishments mattering more than the afterlife. Later, Gehenna became a kind of temporary purgatory, purification, not eternal damnation. Islam, Jahannam is a blazing realm with 7 levels of suffering. Even Satan faces the flames. Torment is physical, psychological, or both, always tied to final judgment. Zoroastrianism, the house of lies, a deep, dark abyss for those who fail the test of truth. India, Vedic/Buddhist Naraka isn't forever. It's a temporary place of suffering, just one phase in the soul's journey. Pain here is meant for learning. Ancient Egypt, the worst fate isn't pain, but annihilation, the second death, where the soul simply ceases to exist. Norse myth, Helheim is a cold, dull underworld ruled by the goddess Hel, not really about moral punishment, just the fate of those who didn't reach Valhalla. Aztec myth, Mictlan is the place where all the dead go, no moral judgment, just the next step after death. In the end, hell changes shape and name across time, but always represents our deepest fear, absolute loneliness, the void, a suffering without end or meaning. What do you think? Is hell real, a metaphor, or just the reflection of our own guilt and fears? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Purgatory. Justice as purification. After facing the total darkness of the abyss, when it seems all hope ends behind the sealed gates of hell, an ancient question challenges centuries of black and white thinking. What if divine justice isn't just a final sentence, but a journey of transformation? What if there's a middle ground where the soul learns, heals, and is slowly set free? This is where the idea of purgatory emerges. But forget the myth. Purgatory isn't a softer hell or a waiting room for the damned. In its deepest sense, purgatory is one of humanity's most hopeful and radical concepts. In the Catholic vision, it's not just a place, but a state, a process, a life condition for those who die in friendship with God, but still carry the scars of imperfection. Picture a diamond hidden under layers of dust. The brilliance is there, but it needs polishing to truly shine. Here, fire means something entirely new. The fire of hell destroys. The fire of purgatory is the fire of the alchemist, demanding, yet loving. It doesn't punish to take revenge, it transforms to set free. Every pain and struggle becomes the soul's final lesson. Selfishness, resentment, unhealthy attachments, all are burned away until the soul is clear, light, and ready to embrace the light. This idea transformed the spiritual history of the West. Purgatory is a bridge between worlds. The line between the living and the dead becomes permeable. Your actions, your prayers, your love, your memory, can actually help those who have already crossed over. It's not a total separation. The connection remains, and what you do here can bring comfort to those on the other side. That's why, for centuries, praying for the dead became one of the most powerful and consoling traditions. Grief was no longer passive. Hope became an active mission. Of course, like everything human, this idea had a dark side. The medieval church turned the sale of indulgences into a massive business, letting people buy a reduction of time in purgatory, a practice that helped build cathedrals, fund crusades, and ultimately sparked Martin Luther's rebellion that fractured Europe's spiritual unity. But beyond the scandals, the core of purgatory touches a universal longing. The conviction that suffering, when it has meaning, can be endured. In hell, pain is a closed loop, an endless echo. In purgatory, every tear has a purpose and an end. It's the difference between getting lost in endless night and walking through a tunnel, absolutely certain that light is waiting at the end. Divine justice, then, isn't about a ruthless executioner. It's about a loving parent who never abandons their wounded child, but stays with them through every step of the healing. Purgatory isn't a threat, it's hope. It's the promise that, no matter how far we fall, transformation and light are always waiting at the end of the road. The echo. Justice as inevitable consequence. Take a deep breath and let go of everything we've discussed so far. Forget the image of a cosmic courtroom, the verdict of some supreme judge, and the eternal threat of heaven or hell. Now, let's dive into a spiritual reality that doesn't ask for belief, just awareness. Welcome to the law of the echo. Imagine standing in the middle of an endless valley, surrounded by absolute silence. You speak, and your voice doesn't just disappear. It travels, bounces, and eventually returns, multiplied and crystal clear. That's karma, the law of the universal echo. Every action, every word, and, most importantly, every intention is like throwing a stone into a perfectly still lake. The ripples travel, invisible but unstoppable. Nothing is lost, everything returns. Even your thoughts, those private seeds, aren't as hidden as you think. They vibrate, and sooner or later, they shape your reality, and the reality of those around you. In the West, we often summarize it as, what goes around, comes around. But that's just the surface. Karma, in its original sense, isn't a judge, an accountant, or a moral enforcer. It doesn't punish or reward. It simply is. It works like gravity, impersonal, automatic, and inescapable. There's no good or bad, just response. If you send out hate, the universe echoes it back, not as vengeance, but as a natural consequence. Think about it. How many times have you put out negative energy, and life returned it to you in some unexpected way? It wasn't punishment, it was consequence. In Buddhism and Hinduism, the idea of hell changes radically. Naraka isn't eternal damnation, it's a temporary state, a low-frequency station on the journey of existence. You don't get sent there by a God's sentence. You arrive through the vibrational weight of your own actions and thoughts. There are no demons, no executioners, only the inevitable encounter with the effects of what you've sown. The goal isn't endless suffering, it's learning. In Naraka, you experience the pain you've caused, not as payback, but as a lesson. When you finally understand and absorb that lesson, the suffering ends. Enter one of humanity's most revolutionary ideas, the wheel of samsara, the cycle of reincarnations. You're not doomed to Naraka forever. You literally get infinite chances to learn and do better. But don't be fooled, reincarnating isn't a golden second chance. In Eastern thought, it means you haven't broken the cycle. Being reborn means you're still trapped by the same fears, attachments, desires, and ego. The real goal isn't to get a better next life, it's to break the cycle altogether, to reach nirvana, that pure state where your actions, words, and thoughts no longer generate an echo. That's true freedom. Karma strips you bare before yourself. There are no demons to blame, no gods to bargain with, only your own awareness, your choices, and the endless echo of what you think, say, and do. In the end, the most radical truth is this. No one is judging you. No one is punishing you. You, moment by moment, are the architect of your reality, the sculptor of your destiny, the sower and reaper of your own life. Ask yourself, are you ready to claim that power and responsibility? Or will you keep looking for someone else to blame? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is karma justice, learning, or simply the most honest law in the universe? The philosophy of evil and legal punishment. So far, we've traveled through spiritual territory, but the problem of evil, and how to respond to it, goes far beyond religion. In fact, the great philosophical question, why does evil exist? How should society respond? Became central after the tragedies of the world wars, when humanity saw the true depth of its own darkness. Modern philosophers, from Hannah Arendt to Paul Ricoeur, have debated whether evil is something inherent in human nature, a historical accident, or even a kind of everyday banality. Unlike religion, philosophy doesn't offer us heavens or hells, just uncomfortable questions. Are we all capable of evil? Could any ordinary person commit atrocities under the right circumstances? Faced with evil, society created legal punishment. In theory, Punishing those who do harm isn't just about protecting the innocent. It's meant to prevent evil from repeating itself. Punishment becomes a tool for restoring balance. But does it actually work? Here's a key distinction. Not all bad actions are the same. There's a world of difference between making a mistake, causing minor harm, or acting impulsively, and embodying pure evil through acts like premeditated murder, extreme violence, or hate crimes. Modern law recognizes this by classifying crimes and their punishments. But there's a dark side too. Punishment itself, when excessive, can become a new form of evil. Think of overcrowded prisons where suffering and violence multiply, of disproportionate sentences, or systems that perpetuate pain instead of healing. Sometimes, the cure is worse than the disease. Retributive justice, the idea that everyone should pay in equal measure for what they've done, can seem fair, even logical. But what happens when the desire for punishment turns into vengeance? Where's the line between justice and cruelty? At the heart of it all, we're left with the same question that spirituality and philosophy have wrestled with for centuries. Is punishment the real solution to evil, or just another form of evil wearing the mask of authority? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is punishment a necessary evil, a legitimate justice, or just an endless cycle that creates more suffering? We've journeyed to the abyss, felt the purifying fire, and heard the echo of our actions resounding through the universe. If there's one thing this journey makes clear, it's that hell, purgatory, and karma aren't just ideas about the afterlife. They're internal maps for transforming our lives right here, right now. Because in the end, the real question isn't whether divine punishment exists after death, but this: what kind of justice, compassion, and purpose are you cultivating with every thought, word, and action? How can you leave an echo of light, growth, and transformation for those around you? If you enjoy these kinds of deep reflections and want to join a conscious community, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a new episode. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I'll see you in the next video.